After the Civil War came a new era, a Gilded Age, as Mark Twain coined, with one defining feature of this age being America's movement to cities. This movement led to 5 key developments. The first key development was the urbanization of cities. America's abundance of natural resources, including iron, oil, and coal, prompted a second industrial revolution that would see American cities triple with increased populations in the following 3 decades from 1865 to the 1900s. Previous farmers were now moving to these vibrant and industrious cities for newly opening industrial jobs. The surplus of jobs and increased wages for specialized workers and small business owners created a distinct urban middle class. Innovation joined urbanization, as elevators, subways, and the incandescent bulb facilitated city growth and even the construction of skyscrapers like the Flatiron Building in New York. Furthermore, America's laissez-faire, offhand economic policies enabled a fortunate few to become titans of industry, including Andrew Carnegie with steel production, Rockefeller over oil production, and J.P. Morgan over the steel and baking industries. Unfortunately, urbanization didn't come without its issues, as waste disposal and criminal activity rose. Lack of safety measures also led to disasters like the 1871 Chicago fire that left over 90,000 homeless and over 15,000 buildings destroyed.
The second key development was rapid immigration. This second industrial period in America particularly saw a wave of new immigrants from southern and eastern Europe, such as Scandinavian Italy, that made up 66% of the total immigrant flow. Ellis Island in New York established itself as a symbol of rapid immigration, processing more immigrants than all other American ports combined, and creating ancestral roots for millions of modern-day citizens. However, many of these immigrants lacked resources, causing political machines to provide shelter, food, and jobs in exchange for their political support. New immigration also revitalized nativism, as many Americans thought immigrants would outvote and outpopulate the Anglo-Saxon race. Nativists would grow to influence public thinking by attempting to rationalize this fear, causing citizens to begin to shift blame of foreign ideas of socialism, communism, anarchism, and degradation of urban lifestyles to immigrant communities. This kind of discriminative thinking towards immigration quickly became a deterring belief in America. Congress passed anti-immigration laws, including the Chinese Exclusion Act in 1882, that explicitly prohibited the immigration of Chinese laborers and, as a result, ostracized the existing Chinese communities in America. Both anti-foreign organizations, such as the American Protective Association, and Congress's passing of several restrictive laws were setting signs of nativist influence in American society.
And the third development being the advancement of education. Education saw significant advancement in the late 19th century as colleges and public schools grew immensely in popularity. By 1900, there were over 6,000 high schools nationwide, and illiteracy rates reduced by half from 20% in 1870 to 10% in 1900. Most state schools also began requiring a minimum grade school education. This stream of education extended to the adult illiterate population as well, since the Chautauqua movement. Initiated in the 1870s, the Chautauqua movement provided adults with an education and enabled home-study courses for people who didn't have readily available education access. And by 1892, around 100,000 people were enrolled in the Chautauqua institution. However, areas in the South still prohibited many black people from receiving a proper education. Black leaders such as Booker T. Washington and W.E. Du Bois were key leaders in fighting segregation and helping the South with education. And thanks to the Morrill Act of 1862, colleges, including those for female and black communities, were able to open up via government land grants to states for educational institutions.
The fourth major development was continued reform movements. Various reform movements emerged in the late 19th century, including educational movements, free love reforms, suffrage, and Darwinism. The elective system first remained a product of the public's desire for the ability to choose educational courses, which was a popular movement supported by Dr. Charles W. Eliot, president of Harvard College. The New Morality movement, founded by Victoria Woodhull and her sister Tennessee Claflin, supported the idea of liberalism, saying that all individuals are entitled to freedom and equality. This movement made significant social changes and enhanced personal expression when it came to topics of race, gender, and sexuality. Women's rights movements also continued, with new faces such as Carrie Chapman Catt shifting the focus to suffrage and the ability for women to vote in order to truly discharge them from traditional roles as homemakers. The emergence of Darwin's extreme radical theory of natural selection was highly influential in both the secular and scientific communities, splitting Christians into fundamentalists and accommodationists and increasing religious skepticism.
The fifth and final key development was entertainment, literature, and arts. Following the Civil War, post-war literature grew increasingly popular as society promoted the growing idea of dime novels and religiously influenced works. Poetry also saw a resurgence in popularity, some of the most noteworthy including Sidney Laner's Marshes of Glen and Walt Whitman's Leaves of Grass. Popular literature retained the common pattern of societal criticisms, ranging from the feminist works of Kate Chopin to the industrial criticizations of Stephen Crane. Perhaps the most well-known author of this era was Mark Twain, who coined the Gilded Age in his co-authored novel A Tale of Today. These authors challenged the social injustice of the period, combating traditional ideas and corrupt methods of the late 19th century through their largely criticizing but highly influential literary works. The public also sought more forms of entertainment as urbanization inflated the free time available to citizens. Entertainment shows and performances grew to be loved across all regions of the nation. Circuses and Wild West shows also became increasingly popular, including Phineas T. Barnum and James A. Bailey's Greatest Show on Earth and William F. Cody's Performing Troupe. Even modern-day sports such as baseball, football, boxing, croquet, and basketball all surged as popular pastimes within the years of 1870 to the start of the 20th century. These shared likenesses of entertainment were able to band together all American citizens by sharing their love of this new pop culture.